And welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. US Vice President JD Vance is in Bharat for a 4-day visit and has reached 7 Lok Kalyan mark for his meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It's a bilateral conversation where we are expecting the likes of Ambassador Kawatra, Vikram Misri, the Foreign Secretary, the NSA Ajit Doval, and of course the External Affairs Minister Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar to also bolster the Indian side of the delegation, which is going to engage in conversations. And this is amid the raging tariff war. We'll try and go across to Siddhant for more details. He's had a busy morning since touching down. He's gone to Akshardham Temple. He's gone shopping in Janpath and also perhaps got a little bit of a shut-eye and rest where he's come with his family. But it's about business before the dinner at 7 LKM, and then later in the night they head towards Jaipur. But Siddhant, what's going to be the crux? Is it only tariffs or is there something more? There is word that the Americans are going to push Bharat to buy more as far as defense equipment and tech is concerned. What is our focus going to be?
Well, Anand, this visit of JD Vance has given opportunity for both sides to engage at the highest level. And Vance is seen as somebody very close to President Trump. In fact, unlike his predecessors, he's more effective, more powerful. And this visit is seen as a recce visit of Vance ahead of President Trump's visit later this year for the Quad Summit. Indeed, there are a lot of issues which, in fact, going by the official line, then both leaders will do the review of the progress made on the joint statement which was released in February at the time of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Washington. But this, as I said before, this is an opportunity for both sides to sit and talk. It's an opportunity to engage at the highest level. Perhaps this visit is happening at a time when there are concerns as far as tariff is concerned. Where there are concerns as far as technology transfer from the United States is there. So there are many.
What is the corridor conversation? Because terms of reference for BTA is in place. They are supposed to come to a structure by mid-April. We have Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman traveling there across for the IMF meeting, and she's supposed to have some engagements. What's going to be the crux? Where is it stuck? Or what's the corridor conversation?
Well, the corridor conversation, Anand, is that this visit will do the groundwork for President Trump's visit later this year. Perhaps in this visit, Indian side will get to know the perspective of Trump administration for this relationship, for the region, and also what are their expectations, what do they want to do as far as this relationship is concerned. At the same time, they will hear out India's expectations, India's concerns. Perhaps, as I said before also, Anand, that in-depth conversation, perhaps I don't think it is likely on the card. All I can say is that this is an opportunity to engage at the highest level, to know each other. And Anand, India has upgraded the protocol. Union Minister was sent this morning to the airport to receive JD Vance. Perhaps says a lot about how much importance India attaches to this relationship, especially with the Trump administration. And India is also looking at JD Vance with a view that he is a bold new voice in US politics. Quite famous.
And they also have sent someone who is. They also sent someone in the likes of Ashwini Vaishnaw who enjoys the confidence of the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, along with the fact that he is one of the ministers more empowered ministers within the cabinet at this point. So he was the one who went to, receive him. But through the course of the evening, how long is this bilateral going to be? When is dinner served? And do we have an insight on what's the menu, what's the spread? Is it something to the liking of Usha Vance, and will it touch on her Bharatiya roots?
Well, Anand, I am also trying to find out more details as far as menu is concerned, but I am told that menu will have, most of the dishes are going to be vegetarian, and in fact, it will definitely, have the preferences of Vance family. In fact, we are still trying to find out more details of the venue. But this we can confirm, Anand, that around 9:30, there is a departure of JD Vance for Jaipur tonight. So right after finishing this meeting at 7 LKM, dinner with Prime Minister Modi, he is going to head straight to the airport and will take a flight to the Jaipur, because tomorrow in the morning he's going to go and visit Amer Palace in Jaipur.
Because 11 p.m. is expected touchdown in Jaipur. So clearly 9:30 has to be departure if the family has to make it on time. That means they just have about 2.5 hours at the most if the meeting pushes on. So we'll see how long the bilateral goes on and how much time they have for a conversation, a pull aside on the side while they enjoy dinner. We'll also wait for the pictures to come through. Siddhant, thank you. Do stand by and we'll circle back to you whenever there is an update. For the moment, moving on to the other big story here that we quickly want to track before we come back to the Indo-US conversations around the JD Vance trip to Bharat. This is what happened overnight. Canada may be under a new management, but the threat of Khalistani extremism, K-Goons, is far from over. Threats, vandalism, thuggery seem to be the usual weapons of the politically influential movement that routinely threatens Bharat and the Hindu community in Canada, and it also tends to intimidate Sikhs and those who do not agree with this entire K-secessionist and K-Goonery agenda. And they do so with impunity. The recent episode of brazen hooliganism was caught on camera by Canadian journalist and a friend of the show, Daniel Boardman, who was walking on a public street in Surrey during a Khalistani parade and encountered Khalistani supporters who told him, "Get out or else." This is what happened.
You have 5 minutes to get out of here.
You're gonna kick me out?
I'll kick you out and I'll you right now. If you're not gonna leave out of here, don't cause any problems here.
I'm not causing any problem.
Yeah, you are. Don't record me.
So you
You don't have a right to record me.
yes, we're on a public. Don't touch us. Don't touch
do
us.
not record me.
Don't touch me. Don't touch
record me.
me. It's a public space.
It doesn't matter. You guys are causing issues with this and that. For what?
You guys are harassing us. For what reason?
We're not harassing. I haven't come up to
harassing a lot of
you.
people.
You came up to me. They came up to me.
It doesn't matter. Why you
Yeah,
guys,
it does.
you guys are talking stuff about sex? Why? Why are you guys being racist?
We're not being
Yes,
racist.
you are. Clearly, everyone's saying that. They heard you guys. Why are you guys saying that?
We didn't say that.
Why are you guys saying that?
Why are you making
you
things? We're not saying that.
Yes,
no one
you
said
guys
that.
did.
Listen,
You guys-
he has it all on
You guys
camera.
said sex.
No,
we
we
heard
didn't.
you guys
No, we
100 times.
didn't.
Get out of here.
Sir, please don't harass us.
You're harassing sex. Get out
We're
of
not
here.
harassing. Be respectful. She's a lady, right? Do you really think this is Sikh values? Harassing a lady that's half your size?
Why is she recording me?
Because you're coming up to me.
Now, clearly, you can see there's no fear of the law. There is open intimidation in broad daylight, and it's also abusive. They were reaching for an escalation, targeting Daniel Boardman for speaking his mind about a threat of Khalistani extremism on Canadian soil. Moreover, they sought him out on a public street to harass him. They were not interested in dialogue. They clearly wanted to silence him. Meanwhile, places of worship continue to be a soft target for these radicals. The Lakshmi Narayan Temple in Surrey was defaced with Khalistan spray painted on the board. Hindu groups have raised their voices against this vandalism, but so far no action has been reported by the police. Like many other cases, they are again dragging their feet. Now, would it have been different had it been a synagogue or a mosque? This same temple and others have been defaced even in the past. November 3, 2024, again K-Goons attacked the Lakshmi Narayan Temple. July 22nd, 2024, Edmonton Swami Narayan Temple was vandalized. September 2023, in Surrey, the Mata Maheshwari Durga Temple was attacked. And then August 12, 2023, Surrey, same region, same Lakshmi Narayan Temple was vandalized by these goons. 6th of April 2023, Windsor, the Hindu temple was vandalized with anti-India graffiti. February 2023, Mississauga, Hindu temple defaced by pro-K-Goons and these supporters. January 31st, 2023, Brampton, Gauri Shankar Mandir defaced, again with anti-Bharat graffiti. And it's not just temples. These radicals are even targeting their own places of worship. The Street Gurdwara in Vancouver was also defaced with these kind of slogans and anti-Bharat slogans. They did not even have respect for Sikh places of worship. Now, the question remains, with this brazen thuggery taking place again and again, where consulates are targeted and even assassination of former Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's glorified tableaus are taken out. Is the liberal Canada now become a haven for these K-Goons, these radicals? And are the other members of the Five Eyes nations watching this? Do these goons represent a valuable vote bank ahead of the federal elections in April 28, where no party wants to ruffle feathers with a complete crackdown? Or is there a larger game or a larger picture to this? Daniel Boardman, Canadian journalist, is with us. Ramneek Maan, activist, with us. Namaste. Thank you very, very much. Daniel, You were there, these protesters, quite intimidating. There was a lady with you, even she was not spared. They were quite abusive. But were these just a handful? Because there were a lot of other Sikhs who didn't seem to want to participate or mingle with these louts.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the question. I mean, of course, not every Sikh at Vaisakhi Day Parade is a Khalistani. But it seems like the organizers and the people who run it and the people who are providing private security, these guys seem like they were they were talking to the organizers. As you can see in the background is Balpreet Singh, who I was talking with earlier, and he had come up to me. So all the thing is, I was there, and I would just respectfully interview people if they wanted to. I wasn't too pushy. But then some of them recognized me and came up, and then they wanted to, I guess, talk with me, not in the best faith, or prevent me from talking in front of other people. But as I said, they had cameras in my face the entire time. So if there's any evidence of me swearing or saying anything negative about Sikhs, release the footage. You should have it. And they did inform me that they do watch everything I do on Indian TV. These are some of my biggest fans out there, so I do this for you guys. And the people there, you could say that, but there are floats there. I mean, right before Balpreet Singh of the former World Sikh Organization activist confronted me, I had just checked out a truck that said Khalistan in it. So one of the floats there was a truck with Khalistani flags, and I went to go check it out. And the first thing I saw was a picture on it memorializing Bindawale. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then I had a conversation with them. And what you see is actually after we talked to a certain group, we were then walking the other way, to check out more flows or to see if it's someone else or whatever. We had turned our back, and then this goon who is on the TV now in the Akal Force hoodie, he came up to me out of nowhere. This is my first ever interaction with him, where he offered to F me up or threatened to F me up right in at the beginning, and then things got us there. So, like there was for all the Khalistanis, there was a lot of low grade thuggery. I mean, even when we were having conversations, they were still putting their hands on me in like a light way. Like technically it's assault and all that, but it's the type of thing that no one would ever do. It's low grade agitation that you can't really complain about, but you can, right?
But where were the cops here, Daniel? While all this was happening, there's supposed to be security, right?
There's supposed to be security, and there's supposed to be the cops, but I mean, I doubt the cops would have done anything even if they had been there. So that's, I mean, the other thing is the cops just don't understand what any of this is. And as you see, they instantly start lying. So if the cops had come, you were probably in a situation where all the Khalistanis probably would have lied and said I had done something I hadn't, and then it would have been a whole thing with the cops. So the cops are at the parade. They just weren't there at that moment. So I guess that's why because there's no cops around, they thought they could try and swarm us and start something there. But again, as you see, that they're rather low-grade thugs, not that sophisticated, not that smart, and they're just generally used to dealing with people who've never stood up to them in their entire life. So they don't really understand what to do when, I mean, they threaten to kill you and mess you up and do all this stuff, and you go, yeah, you're not going to do it, or do it right now. Like, what are you talking about? And then they instantly fall apart because, I mean, they just live in a country that they can just get away with whatever they want if they just make some threats, and then everyone backs down. So they don't really have a plan B, which you see, or the plan B is this guy's in the Akal hoodie. So you showed it on the thing there. His group tagged the vandalism of the Gurdwara. So here I am, in an altercation with some Akal group thug. And then later, after this was during the day, and then at night, same group vandalizes a Gurdwara. And it's funny, during the day, they're accusing me of anti-Sikh slogans or saying things that they can't prove because I've never said. And then at night, they're the ones vandalizing Gurdwaras.
But why would they vandalize a Gurdwara, and they also vandalized a mandir, the Lakshmi Narayan Mandir also?
Okay, the Mandir is because it's the Hindu Mandir in Surrey, right? Okay. The Raw Street Gurdwara is infamously the most moderate. The Raw Street Gurdwara doesn't allow pictures of Twinder Parmar or Khalistani nonsense on their grounds. So it was an intimidation to a moderate Gurdwara. In the Lower Mainland, it's generally known as the most moderate one. It's a place for Sikhs who are not Khalistanis or don't want to get involved in all of this to go. But There's a reason why this Gurdwara was targeted, and it's because this Gurdwara this Gurdwara wouldn't allow you to have a float of Tawinder Parmar,
right,
and Iran, Canada's biggest mass murderer. They see that as abominable behavior, so that's why they were targeted.
Ramningman, your thoughts about what's going on in Canada and what can be done to address this? Because one of the points I noticed is that Surrey parade had a lot of Sikhs around. Not all of them were backing these louts, these goons, but they were present there.
Okay, good evening, Anand. Well, one thing is very clear by the acts that they have committed, that they've got nothing to do with Sikhi. You know, we've been reiterating over and over that these Khalistani goons, they've got nothing to do with Sikhi, and they should not be associated with the religion, or they should not be referred to as Sikhs. It is purely a propaganda, it's a political propaganda, and we know the elements behind them and who are supporting them and where do they receive their funds from. Well, like Daniel correctly said, yes, Raw Street Gurdwara, this Gurdwara Sahib is one of those prominent Gurdwara Sahibs, rare prominent Gurdwara Sahibs, which does not support the, the K nonsense. So, any Sikh who is a devout Sikh and he wishes to go to a Gurdwara which does not propagate any political agendas or any secessionist or separatist agendas, they would visit this Gurdwara Sahib. As a matter of fact, I'll go further. In April 2015, 10 years back, when Prime Minister Modi visited Canada, he visited this very Gurdwara Sahib directly from the airport. This is where he visited. And talking about the management, there is one Kashmir Singh Taliwal. He's a part of the Gurdwara management. So these goons are so deadly against the management also that multiple shots were fired at his residence with automatic weapons, Kashmir Singh, to intimidate these people to give in and to join the Khalistani agenda. So again, talking about this Lakshmi Narayan Mandir, so people who are involved in running this mandir are Satish Goyal and Purushottam Goyal.
Right.
So I think, these questions should also be put to Satish and Purushottam Goyal as to what have they been following up on. This is the third time this mandir has been vandalized. So the last two times, what has the police done? People get emboldened when they don't get punished. And, these sorts of vandalism and these events should be followed up. As a matter of fact, during the same visit, Prime Minister Modi visited this this Lakshmi Narayan Mandir
temple
in April 2015.
Yeah,
Lakshmi Narayan. And both these halls were jam-packed. Thousands of people attended, the events which were hosted by the Raw Street Gurdwara Sahib and by the temple. So, the message from the Khalistani goons are clear, that they got nothing to do with Sikhi, they got nothing to do with the religion. They would, vandalize Gurdwara Sahibs equally. So this is how, they are exposing themselves, and truth be said, they are stark naked and exposed now.
No, they may be exposed, but do they have a certain amount of political purchase, political capital? Because neither the liberals nor the conservatives want to be seen as going after this lot at all. They are all steering clear.
Okay,
except for a Chandra Arya who's spoken out.
Anand, allow me another 2 minutes now.
Ji.
You see, these Khalistani elements, what they've managed to do is, you look at parties across the line in Canada. I don't think there is any Hindu candidate anymore for running for Member of Parliament in Canadian Parliament. So Chandra Arya has been bogged down, and any other party, Liberal or Labour, nobody is given a ticket to a Hindu. So this is how, as a matter of fact, Hindus outnumber Sikhs by about 1 lakh in Canada. And out of those Sikhs in Canada, it's a minuscule minority which is, pro-Khalistani. But then they have a political clout. They control businesses. They have interests. And similarly, there are other Hindu organizations, people running these Hindu organizations who have business interests with these Khalistanis. So I feel that, people should actually stand up to the bully, not just Sikhs but also Hindus. They are larger in number.
Right.
And since they have penetrated into the judicial system, to the administrative setup, to the police, so they have a sort of a political clout which other communities, Indian communities, do not. Even moderate Sikhs do not have that kind of a clout.
See, a lot of these, if you were to see the crowd that's present there, were there a lot of immigrants there, Daniel? And the other thing is, what did you understand? Was there a open anti-India, Khalistani messaging? Were there posters against Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Was it's supposed to be a religious affair? It's a harvest festival, Baisakhi. Were they turning it into a political theatre? And also, if you look at the domestic politics of Canada, what is the kind of political purchase this group has? Why are they being allowed a free run?
I mean, the last question could take a while, so let's go through it and start first. Okay, so how many immigrants were there? It's hard to tell. I mean, the guys that are asking me, are they second generation, are they first generation, are they immigrants, sons of immigrants? Yeah, I mean, listen, everyone in a turban in Canada is probably an immigrant or second generation is most likely. You could get third gen. Like, Sikhs have been here for longer than a few generations, but I mean, first, you can go back 100 years. So I don't know everyone's immigration status.
My question was, were they recent immigrants? Were they first generation or just fresh immigrants? That's what my question was. Yeah.
I mean,
okay, please carry on.
It's hard because listen, I didn't talk to everyone. My experience at the parade was different than everyone else's because I was mobbed by some Khalistanis at different points. So it's different. You know, it was hard to go sort of undercover. Okay. Now, the parade, the official parade had all the nonsense you would come to expect from a Khalistani showdown. There was, again, a truck with Bin Diwali on it, trucks with all the different martyrs. I didn't see it, but other people claim to have seen a float praising Tawinder Parmar, worse, like the Osama bin Laden of Canada, as we consider him, the mastermind of the Air India attack, who India had to deal with because we couldn't. There was Kill Modi politics. There was Modi in the cage. Amrit Shah was in the cage with him. Jay Shankar was in the cage. Cardboard callouts. Kill Modi politics. Balkanize India. They had all the different states they want to balkanize India into. Hardip Singh Najjar is a shaheed. Khalistan referendum, Khalistan Zindabad, AK-47, all the stuff. Like all the stuff, you've seen it before. If you've seen a crazy float and you've covered it before, like what's this doing in Canada? It was there. So yeah, we had the full spread of Khalistani political nonsense. Yes, calls to political violence. Yes, calls to assassinate Modi. Modi in a cage. Modi, doing all this. So yes, we were in the full stick. And okay, so how did they get away with this? I mean, short answer is cowardice and incompetence on the part of the Canadian institutions and the public. I mean, everyone's just too afraid to say Khalistan out loud, the Muslim Brotherhood, Marxists. People are too afraid to name bad guys. That's a big problem. And also, they've learned to infiltrate the political system. All it takes is a couple $1 million of foreign funding. And to just bully your way into a few ridings, get some organization. And they've managed, I mean, the stories you hear in Abbotsford in the ridings, I mean, just, I don't want to insult the third world with third world politics. It was fourth world politics. Like, openly people intimidating voters, people voting. I've seen affidavits from the scrutineers that people were voting twice. No one was stopping them. There were thugs intimidating people in Punjabi in the line to vote certain ways, and this is how they got in a 23-year-old son of a blueberry farmer instead of a legitimate conservative candidate. And this is the type of stuff that has allowed them to infiltrate, because they sort of take what they want by force, and everyone's too scared because, again, as you see when they confront me, when they threatened to mess me up and do this, and then when they saw I wasn't scared, so they just threatened to mess me up. Then they're like, "You're a racist. You said F the Sikhs. You said this. You're racist. You're bullying us." Right? So it's cry bullies. So they bully, and then if they don't get their way by bullying and threats and intimidation and violence and criminality, then they say, "Oh, racism, we are discriminated against." And then if they don't get their way when they're discriminated against, they go and vandalize Gurdwara. These are the quality of people that have infiltrated our political system and become ministers and leaders of the NDP. Great situation we got here.
It's not a great situation, but something needs to be done about it. Final word, Ramnik Man. I have to wind up because we've got to come closer home. JD Vance is here. Is this issue, is it going to be raised? Canada is a member of the Five Eyes. The last time we had Tulsi Gabbard here, soon after she left, Tahawar Rana was extradited. there was some movement there. Can we do something? This Hardeep Passi has been arrested. How much and openly ISI and Babar Khalsa International have been named by the FBI. So can we expect some movement in cracking down on this lot?
Yes, I feel on a few fronts. Number one, the government of India has to be more assertive. They have to put more pressure on the Canadian establishment, on the Canadian government. Number two, the community there, the Hindu community has to be more vocal. There is no choice. And third, these K-Goons are equally against Hindus as they are against moderate Sikhs like me. I keep receiving threats on a regular basis, on a routine basis. So, you have to confront these people and, that's the way forward. I feel, like the gentleman correctly said, that, it is more about the cowardice of the people not standing up to their bully, and that is what emboldens them. But yes, like you said, Anand, the government of India has to be more assertive. We've made good progress in the US, but we are lacking, very badly in Canada, I believe.
Well, hopefully that tide would also turn, or that page will also turn, but something needs to give. Something needs to give society, which is so far not or perhaps afraid to stand up to police because of other exigent circumstances, the direct impact on their loved ones, their mothers, daughters, sisters, them being shamed on social media, and then they being pictures, businesses being affected. All there is an intimidation. So somebody needs to police these bullies too, and or give the larger silent majority the courage to stand up to these bullies. Let's hope that comes around, that solution comes around soon. Thank you very much, Daniel and Ramneek Maan. Thank you. Closer home, we've got news coming through. The Election Commission has now reacted to the claims made by Rahul Gandhi on foreign soil. Rahul Gandhi's claim about an increase in voter turnout in the Maharashtra elections is incorrect and imaginary, is what the Election Commission is saying. There's no difference between the Form 17C and the total voter turnout. A copy of Form 17C is given to the political party agent at every booth. The Election Commission has already responded to the Congress regarding questions and claims related to the increase in voter turnout in Maharashtra, and the Election Commission has also responded to the Congress regarding the increase of number of votes in the voter list between the Lok Sabha and the Assembly elections in Maharashtra. नीरज is joining us. नीरज नमस्ते. तो चुनाव आयोग का कहना बहुत साफ है कि देखिए कुछ गड़बड़ नहीं है, आप कोई भ्रांति हो रही है और आप भ्रांति फैला रहे हैं. फॉर्म 17C में ये डिक्लेरेशन था, कितने वोटर हैं और फाइनल वोटर लिस्ट को आप टैली करें, सेम वोटर हैं. ये इलेक्शन कमीशन कह रहा है.
नमस्ते आनंद. बिल्कुल, चुनाव आयोग के सूत्रों ने जो हमें जानकारी दी है उसके मुताबिक चुनाव आयोग का साफ कहना है कि जो सवाल उठाए गए हैं राहुल गांधी की तरफ से बोस्टन में, जिसमें दावा किया गया कि 5:30 से लेकर 7:30 बजे के बीच में वोटरों मतदान प्रतिशत में बढ़ोतरी हुई, जितने नंबर बताए गए थे 5:30, उसके बाद 2 घंटे में उतना संभव नहीं है. तो चुनाव आयोग ने साफ किया, जो सूत्रों ने हमें जानकारी दी है कि पहले के जवाब में जो कांग्रेस की तरफ से को दिए गए थे, उनके लोगों की तरफ से शिकायत की गई थी महाराष्ट्र विधानसभा चुनाव के बाद. उसमें साफ कहा गया था कि क्यों ये बढ़ोतरी हुई है, उसके रीजन गिनाए गए थे. इसके अलावा चुनाव आयोग ने साफ किया था कि 17C और टोटल वोटर टर्नआउट में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, कोई फर्क नहीं है, इसलिए ये गलत और काल्पनिक है कांग्रेस की तरफ से जो दावा किया जाता है. दूसरी अहम बात की कांग्रेस ने पहले भी, आपको याद होगा, बार बार भी ये सवाल खड़ा किया गया था कि लोकसभा और विधानसभा महाराष्ट्र में के विधानसभा चुनाव में बहुत सारे मतदाता सूची में वोटरों की संख्या बढ़ गई थी. तो चुनाव आयोग का इस मसले पे ये कहना है उनके सूत्रों का कि बार बार ये दोहराया जाता है, लेकिन मतदाता सूची के बनाने में राजनीतिक दलों के प्रतिनिधि भी मौजूद होते हैं, इसलिए कांग्रेस या तमाम दलों के राजनीतिक प्रतिनिधि मौजूद थे. इसके अलावा एक जानकारी जो CNN न्यूज 18 के जरिए लोगों को देना चाहूंगा कि टोटल महाराष्ट्र में केवल 90 शिकायतें आई थी. 89 शिकायतें जो निचले स्तर पे DEO और उनके नीचे के स्तर पे होती है, और 1 शिकायत CEO के स्तर तक आई थी. यानी मतदाता सूची में गड़बड़ी के दावे बड़े किए जाते हैं, लेकिन शिकायतें सिर्फ 90 पहुंची थी और चुनाव आयोग ने उनका भी निवारण कर दिया था.
जी, तो यानी कि 90 complaints that came through the elections at various levels, and all of them had been addressed. All these doubts that have been raised on foreign soil have already been addressed, and the Congress party has the details, yet they are going ahead and creating a furor on foreign soil, is what the Election Commission says, and Rahul Gandhi's claims are bereft of any solid proof, evidence, or significance. That's where Election Commission sources are telling News 18 Network. Thank you, Neeraj. On that note, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we shift the spotlight towards JD Vance, the US Vice President in Bharat. It's his first visit since assuming office. He's here with his family. Usha Vance has Indian roots. And the children touched down in Delhi dressed in Indian attire. But can Bharat and America strike the right balance? Stay with us.
MDH का किचन
From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and the powerful. On the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders excluded from society.
The hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from conservatives upset about his liberal approach to church teaching, promised reforms of financial transparency never fully materializing, and the scandal of sex abuse continuing to be the Catholic Church's biggest struggle.
He met with victims. He expressed heartfelt sorrow. He expressed resolve to get this right. But, you know, most critics, many victims, would say that that wasn't matched with a policy follow-through.
When the coronavirus pandemic hit in 2020, this image of the Pope blessing the world from an empty St. Peter's Square became a symbol for that desolate time. Francis urged nations to share their vaccines with poorer countries and vaccinated hundreds of homeless and underprivileged at the Vatican. From the beginning of the war in Ukraine in 2022, Francis was an outspoken advocate for peace. Francis avoided outright condemnation of Vladimir Putin, but publicly appealed to the Russian president, begging him to stop for the love of his people, the Pope said. He made similar appeals for peace during the conflict in the Middle East, saying that the Israel-Hamas war had descended into terrorism. He insisted that war is always a defeat and said self-defense that is not proportional is immoral. Francis's most important message was one of fraternity, that we are all brothers and sisters despite our differences. I'm Karen Kefa reporting. From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and the powerful. On the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders excluded from society.
The hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from
US President JD Vance is in Bharat for a 4-day visit, his first trip to Bharat since President Trump's return to the White House, and after his touchdown he received a Tri-Service Guard of Honor and a ceremonial welcome. JD Vance and his wife Usha Vance and their 3 children visited Delhi's Swaminarayan Temple in Swaminarayan Akshardham Temple and then explored traditional Indian handicrafts somewhere around in Janpat. The family will then head to Jaipur later tonight to visit historical sites, including the iconic Amer Fort, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. They will also be shown around other places in Jaipur before JD Vance's address at the RIC, where a host of diplomats and members of the Indian policy and also polity, along with corporate world, are expected to be present. The highlight of this visit is the key meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a bilateral engagement that is currently underway and should be just about 30 minutes into its process, with and the focus on strengthening bilateral ties amid Donald Trump's tariff offensive, which has jolted world markets and also is even bleeding the US economy. Government sources have told CNN News 18 that the tariff issue is a top priority along with the farm sector, namely the tariffs imposed on agriculture products, where there has been a constant push over the last several decades by the American lobby, and Bharat has been pushing back, and perhaps one of the biggest hurdles towards a bilateral trade agreement not being ironed out. Now, both sides are also discussing Indo-Pacific security along with the situation in Bangladesh. There is also the increased trade and trying to take trade to about $500 billion between the two nations by 2030, and Bharat needs to do bulk of the work towards shoulder lifting towards imports, increasing imports from America, while America opens its markets for more exports or more from Bharat into America. With economic and strategic concerns, the big question remains, can we as a nation strike the right balance? Can we get the best of this deal with the United States? Also, can JD Vance guide relationship in that direction? What's the message that he is bringing in from the Oval Office, from Trump himself? Because JD Vance, compared to the previous term of the president, enjoys the president's confidence, and he is part of a lot of the conversation building up in terms of the Trump narrative. JD Vance would also like this visit to soften a lot of the heat directed at him, basically with his trip to Italy and also in Europe, his engagements there with various European nations, and also his position with Volodymyr Zelensky in the run-up to the conversations that ended up at a nadir. There is a deadlock in that Russia-Ukraine war too. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow, ORF with us. Glenn Carl, former CIA officer with us. We should have Rohit Sharma, Global Policy Affairs Analyst, joining us in a bit. My namaste, gentlemen. So this is a conversation or a meeting that everybody has their eyes on, especially the markets are watching, the traders, the exporters, importers, manufacturers, they are watching. Will there be sector-specific conversations? Will there be individual item-based conversations with respect to tariff? That's one part. Or will Bharat have a different perspective where the tariffs could be softened by offering them something else? Sushant Sareen, how do you see this? Is trade, tariff, economics going to be the focus, or do you believe there will be a certain level of geopolitics?
Look, I think there will be some elements of all of these issues. I would really be waiting for what the Vice President says in Jaipur tomorrow, where he's going to make a major speech. Now, will that have some, something like what he did in Munich, where he really shook up everything? Will that be the unveiling of a new Indo-Pacific strategy? I don't know. But I think we'll have to wait and see if it is a kind of a path-breaking speech which he makes out there, which lays out what the larger strategic game plan of the Trump administration in this part of the world is going to be. But other than that, I think a lot of the visit is all about optics. It's like a cultural tour. The kind of places they're going to. I think it'll do a lot of good for Indian tourism. But as far as his meeting with the Prime Minister is concerned, I'm sure all the issues of trade, tariffs, of political and diplomatic engagement, of strategic issues probably will be touched upon. But look, let's be realistic. I don't think in whatever meeting he's going to have with the Prime Minister, they're going to discuss the nitty-gritty of the trade deal.
Right.
Matter which is already under discussion, negotiations are going on. Perhaps some principles will be set. Maybe we will apprise them of some of our compulsions. They will tell us some of their issues and try and see if we can find some kind of a meeting ground between that. I don't expect any major announcement. I'll be pleasantly surprised if there is one, but I don't expect any major announcement insofar as the nitty-gritty of these issues is concerned.
Correct.
But other than that, yes, I think it's very good for optics. It's very good for Indo-US relations in terms of optics. But let's wait and see where this relationship goes from here.
Glenn, your thoughts? Should we India expect anything concrete, positive? Or do you believe we'll be left confused and confounded?
Yeah, I think positive is likely to come out of this. It's easy to have a feel-good meeting with the vice president, who is not going to upstage the president and reach any significant, decisive agreement or moment now, but it will move issues along. And with the U.S. and India, India is a relatively easy subject or topic for the Trump administration to find positive movement in. The one issue really of particular concern from Trump's perspective is trade. And I think on the other side of the ledger, for India, it should be relatively easy, really, to make some concessions that we're hearing, or changes, if you want to use that word instead, that we're hearing about on specific products to lower tariffs. And that will certainly benefit India, make the Trump administration feel better. Now, long-term, addressing the trade imbalance the way the Trump administration is trying to do is nonsensical, but and in short-term, too, for that matter. But it will certainly, I think, offer an opportunity for the Trump administration to claim a victory and for India to have some benefit out of this. I think that it's a relatively easy topic to appear to make some movement on.
Right. I just want to share with our viewers some significance that we've put out. Why is this very, very important, this visit? Let's just quickly take you through what we've put together. This visit comes 2 months after Prime Minister Narendra Modi met President Trump in Washington. And this visit is to Bharat is very significant. It's the second highest Trump official to come to our country. And this is close on the heels of the Director Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard's visit. And soon after she left Bharat shores, the Havarana was extradited. So now the US has long sought to cultivate a deeper partnership with our nation, in a large part as a barrier against China. Bharat has kickstarted a negotiation process to minimize the fallout of Trump's tariffs with a bilateral trade deal or BTA. Fast tracking of that agreement is definitely on the agenda for both the nations. Vance's visit comes as hopes are running high that Bharat can secure a quick deal and a reprieve from bigger levies. While a 10% baseline tariff is in place, if no deal is reached by the end of the 90-day pause Trump had put in, India could face 26% tariffs. The White House had recently said that Bharat charges 100% tariff on agricultural goods and it's time for reciprocity. Concerns posed by the farm sector are likely to be raised by Prime Minister Modi. Now, furthermore, discussion over issues pertaining to Indo-Pacific are also likely. Bangladesh too is expected to be a part and a topic of the part of the discussion. But Sushant Sareen, this agricultural breakthrough products, last time it was Harley Davidson's, this time it's agricultural produce, but agriculture has been a push or a bane for these, or a big hurdle for a long time. The West has wanted Bharat to open up the agrarian economy and the agrarian doors. Bharat has been a little protectionist because protecting the interests of the farmers. There's also been this dangerous double game about the MSP. The whole bawal with Keynes groups going down to the UN, to the WTO and saying India should not charge MSP, while trying to have a tacit hand in the shadows in fueling these farm protests that demand more and more MSP and want to make MSP legal. So there is this entire play behind in the shadows that's also going on. Do you think with the Trump administration there will be more transparency and no shadow boxing?
No, there is going to be shadow boxing. These are two countries you're talking about with very critical interests tied to things like agriculture. Now, one of the reasons why publicly they would say don't give MSP and then privately they would agitate some of those guys, the agitation part was political. But the economic part was that, this kind of gave some degree of competitiveness to the Indian farmer. Look, if you pull out all support from the Indian farmer, will they be able to compete against big corporations which are operating in the US? Number one. Number two, in terms of technology, in terms of many other things, there is a huge advantage that the US has. I have nothing against free trade, but then what do I do with 40-45% of my people who are engaged in the agriculture sector?
Right.
How do I increase their productivity? How do I employ them somewhere else? And then, of course,
I think we have the, sorry to interrupt you, I think we have the first pictures of JD Vance meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We'll put those out as moment they're in. Just telling our viewers to watch out for our screens. Please complete, Sushant.
Yeah, there are also other issues like, for example, there is an issue in India on GM crops, right? Genetically modified crops. There is an issue in India on the kind of feed which is given to poultry or to, even meat. Now, India is not a market for beef anyways, right? So even if you have to export poultry to India.
We export to the world. That's what we are one of the largest exporters.
No, I don't think we export beef. We export buffalo, right? So there's difference out there. But the point is, we are not going to be importing any beef from the US. Clearly, there's no market for that.
Right. So, Sushant, please hold your thoughts. I have to go to these pictures. These are the first set of pictures coming in with the three kids, Usha Vance, JD Vance, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So that's their the middle one, Vivek, who's got one hand, his father holding him, and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi holding his hands and then escorting them in. And there are also pictures of PM Narendra Modi right there to welcome JD Vance as he arrives at 7 local landmarks. So we'll have those pictures too, the whole family walking in through that entire walkway that leads into the PMO and towards the meeting room, and also or to the left, as you walk in, to the left of the Prime Minister's residence, to the right is the PMO and the meeting rooms where the engagements will be held, the bilateral meeting will be held, and thereafter perhaps in one of the other rooms where dinner will be served. So the two kids shaking hands with the Prime Minister. There is a meet and greet with Usha Vance. There is Mirabel, the little one, the daughter, who's being carried by Usha Vance. But the family deciding to come together. It's a joint combined invitation for the entire family to 7 local landmarks. So the family will be kept engaged along with Usha Vance and the kids as the bilateral goes in. But these are pictures from some time ago because there is daylight behind. So this is around 6:30, 6:45 p.m. when they've arrived. Those pictures have been released now by the Prime Minister's office officially. But the bilateral meeting would have been already underway and at least about 40 minutes into the meeting already. So those are the pictures that have come in from 7 local landmark where Prime Minister Narendra Modi extending a warm welcome. The equations very friendly, very warm, and of course this is something which the PM has the ability to strike, conversations and also an equation with leaders far younger. JD Vance in his 40s. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will turn 75 in September this year. But clearly there is an equation and there is a warmth. And with Usha Vance, with her Bharatiya roots, there is more to speak about and there's more to connect. Now, how does this manifest going forward in a mutually acceptable, friendly and workable deal for both the Trump leadership and the Modi leadership, Modi government? We have to wait and watch. But yes, Sushant Sareen, please complete. So you're talking about, we were conversing and talking about the agricultural sector, the farm sector. We tried reforms in our country and they were blocked. Now if we try to open up the sectors and markets for international players, could that risk another huge furore closer home? Can Bharat afford to do that? Or would Bharat say that you back off on this entire MSP lobbying and allow us to negotiate this, and let's try and look at certain sectors within agriculture, certain produce where we will allow give you some leeway? Is that possible?
I think some kind of a middle ground can be found. You cannot simply open up the farming sector at this point in time. Look, frankly, I think even if the farm law reforms had gone through, I don't think we could have opened up trade on the agricultural front completely. Although it did give the farmers a lot of rights on what they could grow and what they could export, how much they could export, stuff like that. So they did have a lot of room for maneuver back then. So even if you were to bring in the farm laws, I don't think you can completely open up agriculture trade. Look, no country in the world really opens up. The Europeans don't open it up. The Americans don't open it up completely. There are certain barriers which are put, some non-tariff barriers which are always there for a variety of reasons. It could be for health reasons, it could be for other reasons, but there are those barriers which are put, and all countries try and protect their farming, the farming industry. if you were to call it that. So agriculture is a very sensitive topic. The Japanese do it, the Americans do it, the Europeans do it.
Right.
So you can't expect the Indians not to protect the Indian farmer. Of course, there has to be some limit to the kind of protection you give. And when, certain structural problems start coming in, as they have in Indian agriculture, then it is time to bring in reform. Unfortunately, what happened during the farm protest was a kind of obtuseness on the part of some of these farming leaders, most of them who are left-leaning and don't understand the first thing about economics, except that governments have to keep giving dole endlessly. I think that is disastrous for Indian farming and Indian agriculture. But other than that, we do need to bring in reforms, but I don't think we can completely open up this sector, not yet. I think even if we have to, we can do it in a graded way, and we have to find some kind of a middle ground until we reach that point.
Glenn, your thoughts? The agriculture sector, farm sector, or would you want to focus on security, regional security? Will that again be important? If India were to tell the US that we will buy more defense equipment from you, procure, reduce the trade imbalance, increase the amount of defense exports from America, could that soften Trump's position on tariffs?
Well, I think that it can, yes, and I can't speak for the farm sector, but a less efficient farm sector in the process of transition with strong urbanization occurring, people leaving the farm, processes changing and modernizing significantly is really one that could be devastated if there were no controls on imports at all, because you have the highly efficient farm sector in the U.S. So I agree with our colleague that it probably would not be politically or socially wise to completely open up, but the U.S. will pressure because it's in the U.S. interest to do so. Certainly, the easier way to make progress for the two countries is on the defense sector and a high-tech sector, such as electric cars, perhaps with Tesla. Elon Musk will certainly be pushing for that. And then there has been, for now, 20 years, slow, continued, and accelerating progress in defense accords between India and the United States. And I think it's 1/3 of American military transport aircraft are manufactured in India. Something little known but quite significant, and progress or continued movements in that direction, I think are easier to do and will certainly make the United States and the White House happy, without creating the social tensions that dramatic agricultural shifts and tariffs would. Sure.
Right. Sushant, Sareen, Glenn Carl, thank you for your inputs. We're going to move to some big development closer from Bangalore. All right, we will go to those pictures in just a bit because there was a claim that was made which was sudden, but we're going to stay with these pictures. We've got more sets of pictures coming through, so we're going to stay with these stories. The development at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, more pictures that are now being shared with Prime Minister's office also acknowledging JD Vance and Usha Vance along with the family present. These are some more pictures that have now come in. They're being given a red carpet welcome, warm welcome. That's the landing area right at the PMO, and their Prime Minister engaging with the kids, getting a little friendly, making them comfortable. They're dressed in very semi-Indo-Western attire, comfortable, the look a little formal compared to when they touched down this morning. And JD Vance and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with the NSA Ajit Doval, Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar, Vikram Misri, and also Ambassador Kawatra. In that engagement, JD Vance has his own team and some very senior officials, part of the Security Council and also the Economic Policy, who are there with JD Vance's team. Sushant, Sareen, one key takeaway, why did you say that you're looking forward to his speech at RIC more than what comes out of the bilateral meeting today? We're hoping that there is a joint statement. But otherwise, why do you believe that his address at the RIC is going to be more critical?
No, I can't predict whether it will be more critical, but I think what I said was that, when he went to Munich and the speech he gave out there, that literally shook up a lot of things geopolitically, right? He dropped a lot of truth bombs on the Europeans, and we've clearly seen that it kind of laid out how the US administration was looking at Europe. Now, I'm wondering that now that he has come to India and he's going to Jaipur, he's making a speech out there. Will it be a normal run-of-the-mill, boilerplate kind of speech? Or will it have something which tells us how the United States is now looking at this region? Will there be something in that speech on the Indo-Pacific strategy of the Trump administration? Will there be something on how the US is looking at the Middle East, for example, how the US is looking at this larger region? And I would be very interested in seeing if his speech has something like that. If it's a normal boilerplate kind of stuff that, we've come to India, US, oldest democracy, largest democracy, that kind of standard, inane stuff, then obviously it means nothing. Then it's basically a cultural tour. Then we look at what comes out of the joint statement. I think the joint statement is going to plug a lot of issues, but I don't think it's really going to push things very much ahead. It will try and derive some kind of common ground, some kind of talking points to the negotiators, but I don't really expect a big announcement coming through right now.
JD Vance would want to make his projection to be someone who would want to take the Republican challenge beyond Trump, because Trump, when he comes to the end of his tenure, cannot run for presidency again, and JD Vance would be somebody who would want to champion the Republican cause from the American political point of view, and he would also want to establish himself as a vice president who understands the MAGA thought process and slowly perhaps evolve beyond Donald Trump. At the moment, he enjoys the confidence of the Oval Office of Trump, and will he then perhaps lay the spade work, do the groundwork for Trump's visit for the Quad meet later through the year? We'll have to wait and watch, and we're also getting you all the details here of the Vance-Modi meeting at 7 Lok Kalyan Marg. For the moment, winding up, making way for Brass Tacks with Zakir Jacob after the break. Stay with us.
Brought to you by
From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and the powerful. On the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders excluded from society.
The hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from conservatives upset about his liberal approach to church teaching, promised reforms of financial transparency.